All right, so I hope to wrap up the case here and to further differentiate ENFP from ENFJ, as pertains to this document full of clips of Jennifer Lawrence, lots and lots and lots of them. Okay, so here's the thing. ENFJs, in my experience, I know several of them too, and I've been very close to several of them. They can be very wild people, very unconventional, just like all the other Ns can. They can have all kinds of radical ideas and laugh at jokes that are very strange, and they can But the thing is, what is very different with them versus the ENFPs is that they have a sense of social appropriateness, and they can really play the role. They can do it much more easily, much more naturally, usually, if their upper cognitive functions have been developed, have been allowed to flourish by their circumstances. They can be smooth. They can be really smooth operators, and they can make terrific PR people. And that's why so many of them end up being hosts, actually, also. All right, so what do we see Jennifer? So we see Jennifer Lawrence just being goofy as hell over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, you also see her self-deprecating and using irony. So again, just lots and lots of evidence of N influence in so-called intuitive information gathering preference, just all over the damn place. She's imaginative. She's making, again, doing some strange like repositioning in the story, self-absurdizing. And here's something very different. ENFPs will, not always, but quite often we will tend to, we will use self-deprecation, and we'll get in on the joke too, ENFJs can be absolutely hilarious and very, very witty. But what I've seen in the ENFJs that I know, the way their humor, ENFP humor is very often, again, self-absurdizing of how goofy we are, or what weird thing we just said, or whatever. ENFJs, on the other hand, in my experience, their humor is very much, it goes with their dominant function of extroverted feeling, which has a very other focus. And again, has a focus on social appropriateness when they're in a more public setting. In private, all kinds of people of all kinds of types do different things. That's another matter. But when you get out in public, and ENFJs, they might be very witty, very droll. I've definitely seen this. They can be assertive. They can be, and as I said, very, very wild in the mind. But the sort of stories that when they make me crack up, usually what the stories are, the sort of most general sort of tone of them is, it has other focus. It's like, can you believe that? Like, that's very often the punchline of a joke. With an ENFJ, I found, is that they'll tell me some story about somebody else's outrageous behavior, and then they'll just have like a raised eyebrow about it, or they'll say something really witty, or, it's rarely very unkind either. It's not usually nearly as dark as what a lot of the FPs would venture to say, but that's sort of the thrust of it. And they don't do self-deprecation that much. They certainly don't do it in public, and they certainly don't do it on the red carpet. They certainly don't do it when they're in charge of representing a big, major, multi-million-dollar project, and they're on late-night TV being the representative for it. The ENFJs and the FJs generally will just be much more aware of, like, oh, this is there's not that same drive to like authenticity at all costs, They're like, well, there's a time and a place for different kinds of behaviors, and the way to behave here is this, and that's what I'm going to do. So, and the thing about self-deprecation with ENFJs, because ENFJs have such a strong, strong desire to please others and they want to be perfect, as I said in my video, and it's been born, from the commentators there, from the ENFJs, they've endorsed this. And I've certainly seen it, again, in my years and years, and my mom's an ENFJ. I mean, I have lots of ENFJ experience. They feel if they make a gaffe, if they do anything less than perfectly and others see it, they feel like they've let the team down. That is much more the tendency. They feel like that's a bad thing, that they've let others down, and they feel terrible about it. So self-deprecation as humor is not their go-to device. I mean, they will. It's not like they can't take a joke about themselves. They can, and they can laugh. But in a public capacity, when they're being watched by so many people, and when they're not just representing themselves, where there's like their professional life involved, they take a lot of care to look perfect and sound perfect. And again, they're gracious, and they'll, they are funny, but they might do like, they're going to do satire more, or other things. They're not going to do self-deprecation so much, and they're not going to be like, hey, look what a goof I am, isn't that funny? Like they don't like to do that, not in public anyway, not with strangers. So that's why, another reason why I'm like, I really think no to ENFJ with Jennifer Lawrence, and yes to ENFP. I would suggest, if you want to see what an ENFJ usually looks like when they're in a very public capacity, and like at a gala event or something, it's where you're supposed to be very well behaved and very well dressed and very put together, and to be just utterly smooth socially. Take a look at that Access Hollywood host that's interviewing Jennifer Lawrence there. What's her name? Sean, where did I put it? Sean, I want to say Robinson. I'm not sure if that's her name. Anyhow, the Access Hollywood host, and there's another female host there that's interviewing her too. Look at those women and how every hair is in place. Everything is perfect. Perfectly tasteful. Jennifer Lawrence is a little more messy, Like when you see her there with her long tousled hair, and it's there's like some hairs out of place. Consider that she's on national television in front of millions of people, and that surely one or two stylists backstage asked her kind permission to touch her and like make her look right for television, That's what she looks like after other people have helped her with that, She could be looking super shiny if she put the kind of effort in that the FJs generally do. Not always, but for a high profile occasion, they usually do. So again, you shouldn't rely on behavioralisms. That's absolutely true. But they do, the things I'm describing, I've just seen in here. I've seen it over and over and over again, and it's connected to cognitive functioning. So yeah, that FE-FI difference, once again, is a real differentiator for things amongst the NFs. Was there anything else? No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's about all that I had to say about that. So I'll be interested to see what people's opinions are, and if they have any counter evidence to show or talk about that would indicate that Jennifer Lawrence is other than a likely ENFP. I'd love to hear it. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.